Welcome to another episode of The Blueprint, where we talk about building online communities, entrepreneurship, and faith. And today I have a really exciting guest. I have Miss Kimetria, and I'll let her introduce herself here in a sec. But this episode, we want to talk about something that's like important to me personally, but then also I think it will be really valuable to people who are interested in getting into the hair industry and the beauty industry. So Kimetria, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell the people what you do, and then we'll jump into conversation today.
Okay, that's what's up. Hi, guys. So, my name is Kimetria Thomas again. I've been in the industry for over 20 years. I started my business in 2020 during the pandemic, and
Mhm.
I've had some clients across the city of Memphis and South Haven, Mississippi. I have a client in Springfield, Missouri as well. We basically just help people try to increase their brand, their business restructuring, increase their retail sales. Our our main goal is to just simplify your business, right? We don't want to make it so overwhelming. We want to just simplify things and finding better ways to handle what you have going on because owning
Mhm.
businesses can become overwhelming. So we
Right.
want to make sure that it's just simplified, and that's just who we are.
So tell me what kind of people, who are your clients? What kind of businesses do you work with?
So right now, currently working with a barber. We work with some salons, and we also have some nail clients. Actually, just got a baker who's starting.
Okay.
So we're not
Nice.
limited. Our basis is starting with the barber and beauty industry, but we're just not
Mhm.
limiting God to who He is.
Yeah, I love that. So the part of the reason I felt so excited about this conversation is because I aspirationally want to own a barbershop. Me and my dad have talked about that for years. We want to go into business together. And so we landed on a barbershop with the thing that we would love to invest in together. And so I put that on my vision board for 2024. And so one thing that I really wanted to challenge myself was to start working on ways to manifest that. I don't want to just say aspirationally, oh, one day I'll own a barbershop. I want to start taking steps to seeing what that is. So when I found out that you were somebody who helps people start those and run them and make them more profitable, I was like, oh, I need to talk to this lady. And so I want to ask you some questions that I just have as someone who wants to do that. And then we can talk about how you help people as well who are already boots on the ground working on their salon or their barber school. So let me ask you this first. What's the number one thing somebody should be thinking about, or a couple of things somebody should be thinking about if they want to own a barbershop or a salon? What are some of the things that they should be thinking about?
So the first thing I always tell my clients or people that I meet, whether they're in school or getting ready to graduate, I always tell them to look at the money aspect and the visual part of how they want their business to run. I think any business, when you're getting ready to own a barbershop or salon or
Hmm.
nail, anything, what do you want it to look like? Because we
Right.
want to know the vibe of who you are. We want to know what
Mhm.
it looks like and how is going to pertain to your look and how you want to treat your clients. So
Okay.
then after we take a look at that visually, knowing how you want it to run, knowing how many operators you want in there, rather if you want booth rent or commission, then we'll go back and then look at the money aspect to determine how is that going to happen. If you're going to have how many booth renters will you have according to how your bills will be paid. Same
Hmm.
thing. How much does your commission stylists or barbers, how much will they commission be? How long will it take them? Basically, what does it look like? Because when you're doing commission, you have to know if they're going to be a walk-in basis or how you're going to help them build their clientele because a lot of times they don't have that aspect. But when
Hmm.
it comes to booth rentals, most of the time they already have clients, so you can just calculate how much you want to charge them for your booth rent, just depending on your
Hmm.
area and your overhead, basically.
Okay, can you go back real quick? Because you mentioned a couple different ways that you get money, right? So I want you to break that down for
Uh-huh.
people who don't know. What's the difference between booth rent and commission in terms of the business model?
Right. So your booth rent stylists, they pay booth rent weekly. And then your commission stylists, you give them a commission weekly. In the state of Tennessee, you can do either or when it comes to a commission stylist, where they I think it's like hourly versus commission, whichever one is higher, right? So
Mhm.
if they don't have any clients at all, you have to have enough money in your business account to pay them hourly if they don't have anyone because they still got to get paid. Or you can
Mm.
just treat them as a 1099 where they'll just be strictly commission and they won't get paid at all.
Okay, gotcha. So you have the opportunity for them to just rent a space in your building to
Uh-huh.
serve their clients. That's booth rent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yes.
commission is it can be a lot of different things, but commission could be one, you pay them to be a beautician or a barber in your
Mm,
building. You generate leads for them. Would that be how that works? And then you pay
yes.
them on an hourly basis, and then they get on top of that, they get a commission of what, like of their total sales or of their products?
Not on top of. So the
Okay.
way it works, so if they have a higher commission, you pay them that. But if they have a lower commission where the hourly basis is more than the commission, that's what you pay.
Okay. So you have
Right.
a
So
hourly base that you got to pay them, and then if their commission exceeds that, then
that's what
you
you
have to
pay.
pay them their commission, whatever the higher
Right.
is. Whether yeah, okay,
Exactly.
gotcha.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's probably in the best interest. That would be in the best interest of a barber or beautician because they're going to get the highest no matter what, right?
Of their
Okay.
commission because you can only pay them minimum wage if you want to. But to be honest, if you're paying someone minimum wage, do you really want to pay someone minimum wage if they're worth more than that? So
Right.
the
Yeah.
goal is to get them to commission to change them over to
Hmm.
booth rent. That's what I always encourage my clients. Okay, so we can start them out on commission for a little while, but the goal
Hmm.
is to help them get to booth rent. I don't think no one should be on commission for the rest of their lives. I've seen stylists where
Right.
they're on commission for 15 years, and that's ridiculous. I
Hmm.
think no
Okay.
one should be on commission no more than a year to two, no more than 2 years per se,
Okay.
because you should be building your clientele at all times.
I got you. Okay. So yeah, booth rent in that context, they're their own business, right? So then at that
Correct.
point, there's less things that you have to handle for them. And
Right.
I guess maybe is it less of a tax liability in terms of their commission? Do you still have to pay their taxes? You have to pay any benefits, or how does that work?
No, so with a booth rental, you don't have to pay any of that for it
Mhm.
for them.
Okay.
But what I do encourage my clients to do is give them something totally different. What is going to make your barbershop or salon or nail salon different from the next one? A lot of times you
Mhm.
get those types of places where their rent is, say, just give or take $200, right? In that
Mhm.
$200, are you offering them anything else? We are in the
Mhm.
competitor part of suite owners. What are we going to be different when it comes to that side of the business? Are we going to give them the website? Are we going to give them the social media? Are we going to
Mhm.
help them with the walk-ins? Are we going to show them how to be business owners? Because one day we want to show them how to become owners of their own business. That is the
Mhm.
goal. We should never want to keep one down.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm definitely starting to learn a little bit more of how the money side works. I think you said
Mm-hmm.
that's really beneficial to understand how you build your business. Because if you don't have that foundational element, I think you probably can get in trouble down the road. So
Right.
let me tell you this, in terms of the kind of barbershop or salon that I want to own a luxury barbershop. Okay. So I want to have a very state-of-the-art building that has multiple levels, and there are barbers and hairstylists on each different level. And then we also would have some kind of a food concept next door. I know we can't have coffee or anything in the same building for
You can have coffee.
okay. Interesting.
You can
Okay.
have coffee, you can offer snacks, but now if
Okay.
you're talking about food,
Hmm.
yeah, you might want to open up something next door. But you can
Okay.
offer like light beverages and wine, and alcohol. But I think you have to acquire a liquor license for that.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's good to know. So in terms of that, what would you recommend? What would be the best route for me to go if I want to do a luxury barbershop type thing where I think what would set us apart is obviously just having a state-of-the-art space that
Mm-hmm.
clients feel like the clients of the barbers and hairstylists feel like, wow, look at this establishment that I go to get my hair done or get my hair cut. And then we would also have a really robust social media presence. I'm a marketing guy, so we're gonna
Right.
crush it on the marketing. All it's gonna be really buttoned up there. If I was your client, how would you be advising me to think through a luxury business model that way?
So let me change that. So first, you will be my client.
Mhm.
let's
Absolutely.
so let's
I love that
change that. We're gonna put
manifestation.
that into the present. We're gonna change them to the
Yeah.
present, right? So the
Yeah, I
first
love
thing
that.
I would say, let's start with location. If you're in
Hmm.
a downtown area, if you're in, I don't know how that looks, what that looks like in your area, but I would say let's look at the location. If it's going to be a walk-in, basically, if it's going to be
Hmm.
highly walk-ins, what are you going to put into it? Like you said, marketing, but we can still market it where you can have both. But sometimes it
Hmm.
can be hard when you're doing commission and booth rental. So
Hmm.
if you're going to, it just depends on who your target will be and who
Hmm.
you're catering to. I think that since you wanted to be on a higher scale, I say that you would hire probably booth rentals, maybe, and
Hmm.
then get us some commission assistance or some assistance that will
Hmm.
be hourly. But that's just
Okay.
something that we'll have to like really figure out what that
Hmm.
looks like when it comes to your overhead.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing booth rent because I ideally, if I'm going to be in a luxury shop, I really want to have
Hmm.
experienced barbers there to
Right,
make
of course.
sure and I want to have barbers that have luxury clients it makes sense, right? Because I think the
Hmm.
clientele coming through there also had set the space of what kind of environment this is, right?
Right.
And so I definitely think there would be booth rent, and I'll have to figure out ways to entice barbers who are already established to come to my place, right? So we have to figure out some way to differentiate me between the shop they're currently at. I think
Right.
based on kind of what you said, that's what you would then do as a consultant. You would come in and then help somebody like me figure out how to structure my business so that I could achieve what I want. Is that kind of really what you do?
Right. Yes, because what we'll do is we'll create how much booth rent you want to charge weekly.
Mm-hmm.
You're already a good marketing consultant. So once you do that, you're going to very much so encourage someone to come and work for you. That's already
Mm-hmm.
enticing. Currently, I just had my client now. We just did a photo shoot. They're on the website is up and going. And then I think the struggle has been where people it's brand new and no one is ready to go in there until they like really see the place. So I think once we start showing people what your business looks like, what building your team up ahead of time, then we'll be able to really set the foundation to where we can start having the meetings, start encouraging them when it comes to the retail, what type of products you
Mm-hmm.
want to have in there. I think before we get into the foundation, it is going to be so much easier to know exactly who you want there and who you don't.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So talk about some of the challenges or mistakes that people make at the early stages of setting up their barbershop or their salon.
It's quite a few. The one
Yeah.
that I've really seen the most is the investment. Just because you are a booth renter doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that the salon owner shouldn't treat them like a human being. We're competing with suites, and they're going to suites because of the chitter chatter or they want growth. And no one is giving them that in the place they're in. So they're probably like, hey, I can go do this on my own. Why do I
Mm-hmm.
have to be here paying you this? My job is to change that with my clients. What can we do to keep them here with my client to make it better? What kind of growth can we give them to include them in your business? Because sometimes stylists feel left out.
Mm-hmm.
They feel left out and they feel unappreciated.
Okay. Gotcha. And when you say suites, for those who don't know, what is that? What's the suite thing that you were talking about?
Suite is a room where you have a building and you go to each room and it's
Mm-hmm.
yours. You will have to file a business license, your tax number, your EIN number. You have to
Mm-hmm.
get insurance and it'll be your own name, basically, and you'll file it with your state.
Okay.
And the suite owners will either offer you the shampoo bowl or the chair. It just depends on what type of
Mm-hmm.
suite you're looking for, what they offer in their.
So a suite would be if instead of a hairstylist or a barber renting space in another shop, a suite would be if they had their own space where they wouldn't need to necessarily they would pay rent to whatever building that they're in. So okay, got you. Okay,
They're more than
yeah.
willing, right? But they're more than willing to have an assistant if they're that busy. But they'll have to do
Mm-hmm.
everything on their own, their website, their social media, hire
Mm-hmm.
assistant, take care of their taxes and all that. Basically, you do the same thing as a booth rental. I'm just trying, my business, we're just trying to make it different because I just feel like that with our industry, the bar and beauty industry right now, we just need a whole refreshing, a brand new awakening because the industry is consistently changing and we have to
Mm-hmm.
change with the times. And if you've got a salon that is still charging $200 a week and you've been the same way for 13 years, that doesn't make sense. But if
Okay.
you're still just charging $200 a week or
Mm-hmm.
$150 a week and you're not offering them anything different, of course they're going to leave
Yeah.
because who wants to stay in that same place and that same stagnant?
Yeah, that makes sense. So what I hear you describing is like the problem in the beauty and barber industry is that there are shop owners who aren't really connected to or really aren't connected to their clients to a degree, right? Like they're not willing to change, they're not willing to add additional value. Like they just
Right.
want to collect the check, but they're not really bringing their hairstylists and barbers into their business and really allowing them to grow and flourish. Is that kind of what I hear you saying?
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is so
Okay.
you got so many that don't want to change. I hear this a lot where they say the students don't want to work. Okay, of course they don't want to work because when they came in for an interview, you had an attitude.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make sense. You didn't give them a welcoming environment. If they had an interview,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't show up.
Right.
And then what happens is when you're dealing with the students and everything, they end up not trusting someone, and
Gotcha.
it's not fair. Or they get in there and you make them do things and that's not part of their job description, or you're showing them why you're telling them to do this. You're
Hmm.
not helping them. You're not showing them how to grow. Go pass
Right.
out this card, but you're not telling them this day and age. You have to tell them why they're passing out the card, why
Hmm.
you're posting on social media. It's not like it was when we were in the industry 20 years ago. You just knew automatically if you don't you pass out this card, you don't pass out this card, you won't eat. Now you
Right.
have to tell them, pass out the card so you will understand why, because this is what's going to accumulate for you when it comes to making money.
So let me ask you this. If I was a shop owner, why would I need to be basically hand holding the people who are technically my clients, right? So if I like it's and let me I'll say it like this. If I was renting just a normal residential spot,
Mm-hmm.
my landlord isn't going to come in on and tell me how to take care of my house. They're at that point, they're hoping that I do. And obviously they have a deposit. If I tear up their house, I'm not going to get my deposit back. So
Mm-hmm.
why would the expectation be for a shop owner to then help the barbers and hairstylists grow their business? Because technically that should be on the hairstylist or the barber to run their own business because that's the way they make money. So
Right.
talk me through that.
Because it's called the investment. Somebody
Hmm.
invested in us. Somebody gave us a chance to start.
Hmm.
Why not do the same thing? Now, if you
Yeah.
don't want it, that's on you. You know what I mean? I'm not going to consistently put the investment out there, but you got to invest in them some kind of way. You know what I mean? You
Hmm.
don't have to hold their hand consistently, but after so
Hmm.
long, someone's going to hold your hand too long and you're going to eventually have to break, basically, right?
Yeah.
But I just think it's the investment. If they say, hey, if you upfront with them, hey, I'm investing in you, but you got to do the work. If you don't
Hmm.
do the work, I'm not going to no longer invest in you.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. So I hear you. If I'm going to start a barber shop or a hair salon, I need to be thinking about the investment and obviously the
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure of the building, how it looks, how it feels, but then also in the people that I'm employing to then
Right.
work. Even though they have their own micro businesses inside of my business, I need to be willing to invest in them to help them grow. And I guess how would that, if I help them grow too much, wouldn't they just leave? Or
Yes.
where's the where's the balance there? I want to
So
keep them paying blueprint as long as possible.
not to me, not necessarily.
Mm.
I just think that this day and age, we do want somebody to invest in us. I don't think that if they leave, it's okay because
Mhm.
someone else will come that's better to that wants to be better invested.
Okay.
I think that when we're because that just means that they just took what I gave them and they got it. Okay, that's fine, but it's
Mhm.
not the information is not mine to keep. It's to keep
Okay.
passing it on.
Right. Gotcha. So that sounds to me like that's a values based business model, which I think is probably something that's unique to you and how you consult your clients is helping them understand what are your values, what the space looks like, what it feels like,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's a value. It's like, hey, what value do you want to establish in your space? And then now I hear you saying you need to have the values to invest in the people who are inside. So that sounds like you're appealing to the values of a salon owner to connect with their barbers and the beauticians over just profit per se. Is that kind of where you would say you're,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, just because when you invested in them, they're going to invest in your business. They're going to make sure your barbershop or salon is clean. They're going to make sure they're posting. They're going to make sure that you are okay. They're going to make sure that everything is done within that core value of your business once you do the investment. And you'll
Okay.
feel because I think when as salon owners or business owners, sometimes we don't trust anyone to do it.
Mhm.
And but you got to build that trust up. And if they feel like they're not warranted, or hey, I'm just another check, of course they're
Mhm.
gonna leave. They can go get a suite and do that on their own. Hey, I'm just cleaning my
Right.
own space. You're not
Mhm.
investing in me, so I'm gonna go invest in myself and
Yeah,
go over
that makes
there
sense.
and make it all over
Mhm.
here by myself. And I don't
Right.
need you anymore. But if we're creating that environment, a happy
Mhm.
environment, a safe environment, an environment that hey, we don't, it's not saying that we gotta be like basically like a family, but you gotta know what that investment looks like.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So you got a secret sauce. Okay. Because I know you know what you're talking about when it comes to getting these salons started and barbers started. But I know you mentioned, we talked offline, you talked about products, right? That being another way to help generate income for barbers and beauticians, but also for the person who owns the shop, right? So talk about productization, why you think that's important, how you help people think through that or invest that into their business.
Oh my goodness, retail is my thing. I'm gonna give you a little backstory on that. I've been selling in the retail business since I was 16, and I'm 44 now.
Okay.
I was working for a previous company, and I became $1 million store within 2 years of my tenure because I
Mhm.
knew how to sell. I knew how to take my team and encourage them. It goes back to an investment on how what that looks like, right?
Mhm.
So I always encourage. This is another piece of the investment. We are going from the mark of where you're selling retail and they're your stylist or your commission style is only getting 10%. It's time to increase it to 15 to 20%. They're not going to want to sell a $10 product and make $1 off of it. That doesn't make sense. But
Mhm.
selling retail is so important because your clients are using these products at home because
Mhm.
you want them to come back. And it goes to what I was saying at first, your investment. If the barber or the hairstylist is investing in their clients, they're going to invest back into them, and then they're going to invest back into the business as a whole. It's
Okay.
a whole domino effect.
So break it down. So when you say retail, so that means I'm selling products to my hairstylists and barbers to their clients, right? So let's just say we have a little nook in the store where they can go and buy pomade or whatever that is, hairspray or whatever, they can go and buy that stuff. So that money goes straight to the store, right? And then these hairstylists and the barbers get a commission of what they sell at the store, right? Is that am I
Correct.
understanding that
Yes.
right?
Yes. So I've been encouraging our clients to get their barbers and their hairstylists to sell the products because it comes back, regardless if it's their client, they're still going to come back to that barbershop or that salon to purchase their product because that's where they purchased it before. So when you're doing that, goes back to that investment and goes back into the salon. I encourage people to use that. The retail technically should pay your booth rent. That
Hmm.
is what it should do. If you're giving them 20% and they're selling enough products, your booth rent should be able to be paid a week from selling the product alone. And the rest of it should be
Wow.
able to be yours. Not saying that I encourage my clients to tell them, hey, they use their retail sales for the booth rent. Now, I don't encourage that because that should be a whole separate entity. But that
Hmm.
way, that should be extra money where they can save to go on vacation or to save for a day of like how we had when we was out for COVID. That's what that should be used for. But when the barbershop or the salon owner is making that money, I encourage them to invest that money back. It's called, goes back into what I was saying about the investment.
Hmm.
Buying lunch, giving them a bonus of
Hmm.
going to barbershop, going to barber shows and hair shows, doing those things. You can just, hey, I just want to give you a bonus. You do it so well. You brought some extra clients in here. Come on, let's do it. That's what I encourage them
Hmm.
to do. What is going to separate you from the typical barbershop or salon? Because a lot of
Yeah.
salon owners that are booth rentals, they all have their own retail sale. But
Hmm.
why do that when we're a whole entity and we can all sell together and I can use that money for the shop
Yeah.
alone?
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So I could see that makes sense in terms of if I was the owner of the shop, I
Mm-hmm.
would want that extra income for the shop too. But then also I would know if I know my people are selling the retail, then I know for sure that's keeping their businesses stable. So that
Yes.
I know I can count on them to keep paying their booth rent. So that's important. So I definitely see why that would be really valuable. Now let me ask you this on the product side, how do you get good products? Because I'm sure the products have to sell themselves, right? In terms of it has to be an actual good product that helps the client's
Mm-hmm.
hair or whatever. So how do you pick the right kind of product? Because obviously everyone's clients are different, right? So how do you get it the
Right.
kind of products that where everybody in the shop who has different types of
Mm-hmm.
clients can sell the same products and or you have to have just a lot of different types of products?
Not necessarily. So I encourage my clients to do, I call it the three levels. You got the high end, you have the middle, and then you have the lower end, right? So this way you can connect with each person's price point. You have the higher end, what is basically luxury. So you can say that can be between the $40 to $60 range. And
Mm-hmm.
then your middle can be between the $20 to $40 range. And then the other can be 10 to 30. It just depends on
Mm-hmm.
which one you want. I never recommend any products more than three or more
Okay.
than two. So I'd say typically between 2 to 3 product lines at a time. I
Okay.
only say carry a certain amount of SKUs just because I always get a kick out of it because I always tell people, I call it the buffet line. So whenever
Mm-hmm.
you think about it, whenever you go to the buffet, you go to the buffet and you've got all this food. but everybody eat the
Mhm.
same thing. You eat that same fried chicken,
Yeah.
same mashed potatoes, same green beans and bread, right? So when
Right.
you think of it that way, guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna think of that they don't want all the overwhelming. They want the
Mhm.
same consistency that they got the last time. Because they're gonna still go
Okay.
back to that same chicken, green beans, potatoes, and bread.
That makes sense. Okay. I love that. That's so informative. I super appreciate you giving us these tips and these value points because I think this is really beneficial to me, but I think it's also gonna be beneficial to someone who's maybe already in this industry and is looking to make a little bit more money in their shop. And maybe they've heard this before, but I think your perspective on it, I think is reinforcing why it's important to make that investment. I keep hearing you say investment, right? If you think about this, the barber and hairstylist business isn't just like a set it and forget it. You don't just outfit your shop, get your booth rents, and then just leave, right? And just go collect
Right.
money. You really have to think about it as an investment. On this channel, we talk a lot about building educational products, helping people
Uh-huh.
monetize online communities, launch courses, create coaching programs, being able to take the information that's in your head and then turn it into money, right? Sell your
Right.
mistakes, sell your information, sell the things the experiences that you've had. So talk about how you went from working
Okay.
inside of a salon to now being able to gather that knowledge and then now sell it back to people and with your own unique twist on it.
Yeah, you're right. So, working in a salon, I went back and forth. Working in a salon, I went from doing hair to working retail, hair, retail, hair, retail. Then I finally found my niche in selling hair products because I was still in the industry and able to still partner with doing hair. I went to a lot of education classes. Anything that they offered, I was
Mm-hmm.
there. Whether if it was getting certified in this and certified in that, I was asking them, "Can I go? Can I go?" Because I wanted to learn. And I learned so much more from the product brands and the education. And I was like, hey, this is something that I really love to do. And I got to the point to where I was like, oh my gosh, there's something that I want to do more outside than being confined in this store. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to just go out and meet more people and say, because they were coming in frustrated. They were having issues with hiring. They was having issues with their retail. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's something that I got to do more to do that. And then that's when God gave me that. It's like, hey, I want you to help the people.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I've been with it. And being in the salon was not easy. And I was like, I didn't really enjoy being behind the chair because for me, it was repetitive. And I always had felt like it was something more to just being behind the chair. And I've always loved going to the hair shows. And when I just found that niche of having that 2-in-1, I was ready. I was ready to go. And I ended up having so many relationships with schools. And now I'm on 3 advisory boards. That's just where I am with it at this
Yeah.
point. I just knew that being behind the chair it wasn't for me. I love the business side of it.
Yeah, I love that. So what I hear you saying is you used education to help you even get to where you're at. Like while you were working in retail, while you were behind the chair, you were learning from these companies who had educational elements to their business, which I think is so powerful, is being able to create that educational piece in your business, no matter what you do, being able to then teach it to people. Because for you, that's what gave you the knowledge. That's what gave you the idea to think, okay, I don't have to be stuck in this salon all day. Like I can get the freedom to go and serve people by passing on the information that I have. And I think so. I love the freedom that you were able to get through education. And it wasn't like through the traditional route where people like, oh, you're going to go to school or go to get a certificate or go to university. Like you learned it on job, right? So I think talk
Right.
about why it's important, why education is so important to a business model, why having an educational business model is so important to yourself, but also to someone who maybe has more of a service-based business. Why should they add that element to their business?
Continuing education is really important. I actually also have a education team. It's called the Kimpley Lab Education, where we wanted to show the education and not the product. We wanted to break it down to where you can just learn and learn at your own pace at an affordable rate. We just feel like continuing education is so important. I take at least a webinar once a week. I'm
Mm-hmm.
reading something practically every day because I don't want to, I talk to people all the time and I want to be informative. And I tell my clients all the time, if I don't know the answer, I'm going to find it. I'm going to call someone because I believe that there is no reason to say no.
Yeah.
You should always be able to say yes because I rarely say no to anything. And it's okay to say no sometimes, but when it comes to certain things, especially when it comes to KCK, I have to say yes. And if I don't know, I'm going to go find out.
Okay. I love that. I love that. How can someone get a hold of you if they're interested in starting a barbershop or salon or nail salon? How can they get a hold of you? Or if they currently have one and they want to add that retail element or that educational element, how can they get a hold of you to get you plugged into their business and help them grow to that next level?
Oh, wow. You can reach me at Kimpley Consulting and Co. That's KO at 901-513-6159 is our number. You can email me directly, Kimetria at Kimpley Consulting and Co. I'm pretty much open every day. I usually leave my office early on Fridays. I'm usually out in the field. You get a free consultation the first time, and then the next one we'll talk about how much it costs. It's on my website to know
Okay.
what that costs and then what it includes as well.
Okay. Hey, this has been super informative. I can't wait to get started. I'm getting investments ready for real estate to get the building this
Yeah.
year, just laying some groundwork for that. And then hopefully we'll be getting started soon. So I can't wait to work alongside you and your team and continue to get more information to you. But thank you for coming on today.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate everything.